That was my mum. Good morning, spenders. It's about 8:30 in the morning. I'm about to go and meet a friend for coffee, which will be really nice. And here's a quick glimpse of my outfit. Butterfly in the sky. And I'm wearing a coat because it's already freezing in Canberra. I'm trying out a new foundation today. It's a NARS one, and so far I am absolutely loving it. Anyone who lives in Canberra will know that your skin changes dramatically when the weather changes, and for me, my skin just gets so dry, and I've been having a lot of trouble with it lately. You can see I have a little spot on my cheek, but I have high hopes for this NARS foundation. So I just got back from coffee with my friend, and one of the things that I've really noticed about not working full-time in a corporate job is how much time and energy I have to give people that I genuinely want to see. When I was working full-time, I was always just so exhausted. Like, you know, you'd finish working like an 8 to 10 hour day and then, you know, go to networking events at night. I was always just way too tired for it, but now I just love it. I think anytime you learn something new, you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter necessarily where you start, only that you do start. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2017. I was working at a startup in Sydney, and I worked around the kinds of people who were excited about, you know, new investments and that sort of thing. And Bitcoin was around maybe $3,000 US at the time. I remember Googling it because everyone was super excited about it. It was in that big 2017 sort of bull run in the market where Bitcoin peaked, and we hadn't seen an asset like that grow so quickly before. I wasn't really interested in looking into it, you know, kind of didn't really understand it at the time. And so fast forward a few years after 2017, I'd heard about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I was in the car on the way to work and I was listening to the Tim Ferriss show. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I am obsessed with Tim Ferriss, and he was interviewing Katie Horn. Katie was a federal prosecutor, and she led the very first cryptocurrency task force. And I think that she was the person who ended up charging the 2 federal agents in that infamous Silk Road case. I'll put a link in the description if you want to read more about it, or if you even want to listen to the podcast, but it is super, super interesting. And then since then, Katie has actually made a jump over into cryptocurrency, where she now works at Andreessen Horowitz, which is a big venture capital firm that basically invests in cryptocurrency and Web3 orientated companies. Listening to someone like Katie, who didn't have like a very technical background, she's not a computer scientist, a programmer, you know, anything like that. She spoke about cryptocurrency with Tim in that interview in such simple terms. She has become one of my favorite voices in the cryptocurrency space. She does a lot of work with policymakers to try and help them understand cryptocurrency. But my point is that in marketing, there's this thing called the rule of 7, and it basically says that you have to hear a message 7 times before you act on it, or before you take action. And I think listening to that podcast with Katie was my 7th message, and it was the thing that got me started in cryptocurrency, and also made me realize how male-dominated cryptocurrency is, and just being able to hear a female voice in the space talk about cryptocurrency simply just really resonated with me. And at the time, I was already investing in shares. I wasn't super interested in investing in property, and thought, you know, I haven't really dived into the world of crypto, maybe I should give it a go. And I created a TikTok video, and I basically announced that I was going to start learning about cryptocurrency as a complete beginner, like a complete beginner. I hardly knew anything when I started and when I published that first TikTok video, but I think there's nothing more relatable than watching someone go through the experience of learning and making mistakes. And I often get asked, you know, if you could go back and start again, what would you do differently in learning about cryptocurrency. And I honestly could say that I don't think I'd change anything. I think the learning process is so individual, and we digest different types of content in different ways, whether you like to watch videos or you like to read things or you like to listen to things. And it was such a great way to learn, because while I was expending a lot of time and effort into doing the research, it also meant that people were coming to me with a lot of information, and that was really, really cool. I think a lot of people are deterred from learning about cryptocurrency because they think that you have to have like a technical skill or a technical background. I studied international relations, and I definitely don't have a technical background by any stretch of the imagination. And neither did Katie when she first got into cryptocurrency. And she made a great point on the podcast that you don't need to know the inner workings of a car in order to be able to drive one. And you don't need to know, simple transfer email protocol to send a great email. I thought what we could do is watch my very first TikTok video together, and maybe I could learn a thing or two from how I thought about cryptocurrency back then in terms of maybe how I would describe cryptocurrency now. I have to admit, I did watch this the other day and it was so cringy, but that's okay. We all start somewhere. If you're thinking about starting a TikTok channel or anything like that, then, you should really just go for it, and not, your first video is always going to be your worst video, in my opinion. And to be honest, this is my first YouTube video where I've kind of like taken more of a vlog style approach, and I'm sure I'm going to look back at it and think, ooh, you improve over time, right? Anyway, so let's watch my very first TikTok, day one of the TikTok journey. Actually, I'll just get it up on my phone.
Day one, cryptocurrency is so confusing, so beware of patience. But let's break it down. Encryption plus currency equals cryptocurrency. Why would you encrypt currency? Normal currency is actually controlled by the government, but cryptocurrency is controlled by a system called cryptography, aka encryption. Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency to be invented. Like to follow my journey.
I mean, I'm not wrong. I've got some of that information right. Cryptocurrency is just a combination of two words, cryptography and currency. And the currency that we are so used to using today, that we use to buy things and get a home loan and, all that sort of thing, is different to cryptocurrency in that cryptocurrency is 100% digital. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't withdraw it from the bank. It exists entirely on the blockchain. And cryptography is just a way to make sure that in the absence of a bank, that transactions happen securely and safely. So I'd say maybe I'll give myself like a solid 6 out of 10 for that very beginner level explanation. I've definitely gotten used to spending more time by myself since quitting my job, but I'd still love a business partner. Take applications for it. I slept quite poorly last night, so I am just laying down in bed, taking maybe like not 5 minutes, but like half an hour to 45 minutes to myself to just relax, watch a bit of Netflix, and then I'll get back into it. Again, it's another thing that I love about not working full time is that I tend to work not to like a schedule or anyone else's schedule, but my own energy levels. And my energy levels are really high, usually between like 6 a.m. to about 11 a.m. And then I sort of crash in the middle of the day, and then I pick up work in the afternoon, and I'm really productive. And also, plus, my foundation has lasted really well today, which is good. I just got one of those little samples from Mecca of this NARS foundation because my skin's been giving me so much grief, but it's actually managed to hold up quite well. It would be a happy spend, except for the fact that I think it's an almost $80 bottle of foundation, and currently that is not in the budget. Having gone from someone who could walk into any shop and drop, a couple of $100s on makeup or clothes or skincare or whatever it was, to now where I really have to think about what I'm spending and I have to spend more intentionally, is something that is actually been quite an adjustment. And I am the happy spender for a reason. I'm not the happy saver. I have never enjoyed saving ever in my life. So I had to find a way to spend my money in a way that didn't sort of absolutely ruin my chance of creating financial independence and financial freedom. So when I talk about happy spending, I talk about, I think about like the top 3 things I love to spend money on. Number 1 is investments. So not property. I'm not super keen on property as an investment right now because inflation is so high. Wage growth is incredibly slow and property is extremely expensive. Hence why I live in a granny flat in my parents' backyard while I get on my feet financially. But I'm talking about investments like stock investments, ETFs, and cryptocurrency. I actually have hardly any cash sitting in a bank account. It's all tied up in investments, and that's how I like it. So that's one of my top 3 happy spends. Another one is on health and fitness and just generally like self-care. So, skincare, but I don't use super expensive skincare. I use The Ordinary and I absolutely love that brand of skincare. And things like a gym membership. And then I also spend money on things like fresh produce. But again, the cost of groceries is just getting so expensive. Like it's almost out of control because of inflation. So after investments, self-care, my 3rd happy spend is socializing with friends and eating nice food, going out, having wine over dinner. I really enjoy socializing. I really enjoy being out. And that's probably one of the hardest things to cut back on because it is such an enjoyable activity and it does just make me so happy. It is like a true happy spend. I also really think that there's merit in learning how to spend intentionally. We're not really taught how to spend properly. I certainly didn't know how to spend, and that often resulted in me spending really frivolously as well when I was in my early 20s and not really knowing like how to allocate my money, and also to look at my finances as though they're there to be spent on the right things, like for example on assets that will generate more wealth for you. So I had to find a way to make spending work for me because saving does not work for me really, and that's just my personal style. I'm a bit of an anti-budgeter. I would definitely save if I need to, but it's not something that I prefer to do or that I'm very good at. So I heavily lean into that side of my personality that really enjoys spending money, and I enjoy happy spending. And thankfully, happy spending does involve investing into things that can grow your wealth and can make your money work for you, like, investment assets. It's just a little past 5 p.m. now. I am going to edit this video. Hopefully you see it soon. I'm not the strongest editor in the world, but we've all got to start somewhere. And if you've been thinking about starting a social media channel on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube for whatever reason, just go and do it, because you get to meet insane people. You get to learn off really amazing people, and I can't wait to keep going with this. Bye.